So there's this YouTuber who is a Christian. She was called iEmanuella, and I say was because she is no longer here on YouTube. She has since deleted her channel, and all of her videos are pretty much gone with it. Right now I am using an archived version of her video, which I will link in the description down below. Now, this YouTuber made a video where she denounced homosexuality and she was explaining why it was wrong and horrible and against God's will, blah blah blah. And she sounds like the stereotypical Christian who would speak out openly against gay marriage and whatnot. Sure, why am I even bothering to respond to her? Well, this particular YouTuber is a little different because she seems to have a few white knights on her side. So these white knights have come to her defense saying, well, she wasn't particularly venomous or hateful in her video, and oh my god, you're just trying to attack her and her freedom of speech for holding an unpopular opinion, and you're just trying to silence the word of God. You know, this would have been slightly true for me if it were not for the fact that I actually saw the video responses of a lot of people that responded to this individual, and I would say the large majority of them that I've seen, the good responses, were not particularly venomous or hateful or spiteful. I myself will ignore the white knights for now, because I want to focus on the source material. So, with that out of the way, let's see how deep the rabbit hole of ignorance goes, shall we?
So Phil Robertson, aka the Duck Commander, is currently under fire for his latest interview with GQ magazine where he gets real about homosexuality, giving his usual raw and very unfiltered opinion about a quite sensitive subject, which shouldn't be such a surprise for the entertainment industry. However, the internet flooding criticism he's received, in addition to his suspension from the Duck Dynasty reality TV show by A&E, has left quite a few people outraged.
Of course it left people outraged. You realize that this man compared homosexual activity to bestiality, of all things, right? That tends to leave people quite a bit offended. And you know, he has every right to say his opinion if that's how he truly feels, but don't expect to not reap the consequences of what you sow. And in this case, if you are going to talk about something as controversial as homosexuality, you'd best be prepared for some backlash.
If they went on to say he clearly knows nothing about gay people, but the truth is the LGBT community knows nothing about what real Christians believe. So let's get biblical.
I find that very difficult to believe when you consider that a large number of Christians and other religious groups have been doing nothing but trying to shove their religious dogma down the throats of the LGBT pretty much since the dawn of time.
Leviticus 18 verse 22. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Leviticus 20 verse 13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination.
Oh ho ho, looks like someone wants to cite the Old Testament as a source of why homosexuality is evil and breaks Jesus' heart when two men do what they do in the privacy of their own bedroom. I suppose that it would break Jesus' heart equally as much if a man killed another man in war and took his wife and raped his wife against her will and then conceived a child with that wife, right? Oh wait, I don't think that God really had anything against that. In fact, I think he condoned that. Let's not forget that there are a lot of other laws in the Bible that not only belong to Leviticus, but to both the Old and the New Testament, which you currently probably do not follow. So you either follow those laws, which often happen to be either unreasonable or contradictory to other laws in the Bible, or you admit that you have no logical basis, at least within the Bible. You have no proper justification as to why you and every other Christian views homosexuals as sinful or immoral. You either do that or you admit that you are a hypocrite. And that's exactly what you are.
Recently, I discovered that homosexuality was a lot closer to me than I ever dreamed. And I'm finally ready to get real about it. One day, all of a sudden, it put on a face. that I recognized and I cared about. It was extremely unexpected. It shook my world, and all of a sudden, homosexuality became personal. My feelings towards homosexuality has not changed, but my feelings towards homosexuals has, which I feel has distinguished my approach from the majority of my Christian brothers and sisters. When this person built up the courage to be real with me about this issue, it was so unexpected, but I knew for a split second I was feeling what Jesus feels towards people who are struggling with this. It was pure, unutterable love and concern.
That love and concern you feel, which is the exact same love and concern Jesus feels towards homosexuality, I find quite hilarious. You know, that same feeling where Jesus said that gays can't enter the kingdom of heaven because they are gay. You know, yeah, that's some love and concern there. If I had to be honest, I'd say that that is a very superficial sort of concern you're holding, and one that's probably a little condescending at that. But hey, that's just my opinion.
Not the love that pats on the back and says it's all good. It was the love that seeks to reform.
Yeah, bigoted and definitely condescending.
I believe that homosexuality as a practice is a blatant attack on the character of God.
I said this once, and I will say this again. If God really has the time to be offended by two men doing what they want in the privacy of their own bedroom that harms no one, then I really think your God needs to have better priorities. And furthermore, if you want to follow that God's advice, if you want to follow this idiotic God that seems to be so fixated on the personal lives of his creation, then I really think you need to get a life.
Two things were instituted at creation: the Sabbath and the holy union of marriage between a man and a woman. Time and time again, God identifies his relationship with us as a groom to a bride. It is holy, sacred, and designed with a purpose.
And yet people have been married and had other sorts of unions long before the advent of Christianity. Isn't that strange?
Today, people believe that if you were born or grew up having same-sex feelings, that somehow or in some way it justifies the practice. However, the Council for Responsible Genetics has this to say: the scientific argument for a biological basis for sexual orientation remains weak. Many people struggle with anger issues since childhood. Does that justify them walking into a school one day and shooting 20 kids?
And you're right. I think that any discussion as to whether gays are born that way or they're socialized that way is irrelevant to the discussion of whether you should support gay marriage or not. To be honest, that doesn't change my stance one iota. I still support gay marriage because I think it's the only fair thing to do. And what two people do in the privacy of their own bedrooms, well, two or more people, what they do in their own spare time, as long as it does not hurt anyone in the process, is completely none of my business. And you know what? It's none of your goddamn business either.
Whether we like it or not, there was a time when homosexuality was not okay.
Yeah, there was a time when homosexuality was widely regarded as immoral. That was the time when religious thought took precedence before rational thought. And that's not a time period I care to revisit. Thank you very much.
We have to ask ourselves, are we going to reach a place in time where pedophilia or molestation will be justified?
Enough with the slippery slope fallacy. Because if you're really going to try and use that justification, please tell me how you arrive from point A, where we say, let's allow two men or two women to get married and to have the same rights as straight couples do, without fear of punishment or being harmed in any way. How do we get from that point to point Z, somewhere in your imagination, where we say, let's condone pedophilia or bestiality or other sorts of similar things, which does not involve two consenting parties? How do you arrive at that logical conclusion? Please tell me.
Whoa, hold up. Homosexuality is different. It's not hurting anyone. Not hurting anyone? In 2005, according to the Joint United Nations Program on AIDS and the CDC, in San Francisco, 90% of all new AIDS infections are among men who have sex with men. In Los Angeles, 71% of those living with AIDS are gay or bisexual men. Not to mention the more than 50% of all AIDS transmission in the US to be due to male-male sexual contact. Last I checked, AIDS hurt.
So let's assume you're right. Why does that matter? You realize that there are countries where homosexuality is criminalized, and there are a larger number of cases of HIV/AIDS. I'm thinking Africa. You realize that gay sex and straight sex can be just as safe when you take proper precautions, right? Just because gay men have I don't know, a 3 times more likely chance of transmitting HIV/AIDS, or a 30 times more likely chance, or a 300 times more likely chance, it doesn't mean that we should stop gay people from getting together and having sex, or for getting married. Like what justification do you have for that?
I don't care what mainstream psychology is saying. We know who their sponsors are.
Thank you for watching up to this point, because it is at this point where I give up. If someone does not accept the voice of reason, if they do not accept the voice of science and objective logical facts, then the game is over. There is no point trying to reason with the unreasonable. You cannot reach someone who has already plugged their ears. So, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and may the truth always be heard. Peace.